Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up? It's me. I'm just in disguise. So, got 3 blitz games to share with you. I played this guy from Armenia today, Armuch, and we played 3 games, and I'm quite happy with how they went. And they're all really good fun and instructive. So, do you want to see some blitz? Let's do it. Okay, so game number 1. Armuch plays, so I think he's 1300 rated, maybe at the start, or around the same level, yeah, high 1200s. Okay, so we have a Scandinavian. Takes knight f6, the modern, and now he plays my favourite, c4. Trying to hang on to this pawn, but he walks into the Icelandic gambit, okay? So, push e6, pawn takes, bishop takes. So we have given up 1 pawn. On the other hand, we have 2 developed pieces. White arguably has a slightly awkward pawn out there on c4 as well. And it continues. So he develops a knight, queen e7. Right? And the classic idea is to grab that pawn for free because it comes with a discovered check by the queen. Right? Your opponent might be looking at, oh, he's clearing the back rank, he wants the castle long, which I'll probably do. Okay, so we blocked with the bishop, but this doesn't work because bishop takes, and this bishop is now pinned, so it can't recapture. So I've won a pawn. Charlie is the late Charlie. So he pushes d3. I just pivot my bishop now to here, looking down at an undefended pawn, because anytime the bishop comes out, it undefends the pawn. Remember, the b pawns, the g pawns, at the start of the game are defended only by a bishop. Like the f-pawns are defended only by a king, right? So these are nice targets. So anytime a bishop steps off its line, boom, right? We're attacking the pawn. He takes the bishop, I recapture with a knight, okay? So I was tempting him to do that, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so now he develops this other knight, and I copy likewise. Clearly he intends to castle short. He castles short, I castle long. Right, so now, one thing I like about castling long, particularly if the d-file is clear, right, so I have no pawn on the d-file, so castle long, I now have a rook on a semi-open file, okay? Also note, since his king moved from here to here, there is only one defender of this bishop, so I like to draw an arrow to indicate pieces that are only protected once. All right, so now, the quiet and unassuming a3. Yeah, he doesn't want either of my knights coming onto this square, I get it. I push g7 now, because I've got an idea of fianchettoing my bishop and pinning this b-pawn against the rook, because, you know, yeah, I could come out here, but I can't land there or there, and my queen's in the way, so why not do this? Now he brings out his queen. Oh no! Oh no! You fool! Right? And drops his bishop. Right? Didn't sanity check that. This is, I think, a 5+5 blitz, right? He's got 4 minutes 41 seconds. Right? This is that kind of inexcusable stuff. Now he puts his rook here. Fascinating position. Now, I want you to use this as a puzzle, right? Because the first thing is the blood drains from my face because I go, oh no, my queen. Yeah, my queen is technically trapped. Can't go there. Their queen takes. Their knight or bishop takes. Their king takes. Their pawn takes. Right. Anywhere on this file, it falls to the rook. Clearly can't go there. Can't go there. Their knight takes. Right. My queen is trapped. However, after my next move, white resigns. Now, pause the video and try and figure out my next move. Okay, so hopefully you found it, right? So this all comes back to stuff we've been talking about quite a bit recently. When you are under attack, when you are on the ropes, right, consider everything. Okay, so my queen is under attack. My queen has no safe squares. So what do we do? Right? I can't retreat. I can't capture the attacker, right? Because I just go down a big exchange, queen for rook, right? I can't interpose a piece. I can't checkmate my opponent. I can't even really check my opponent. Okay? So what other options do you have? What other options are left to you? Well, one is the counter-attack. And look at this. Knight d4. Okay? So, kind of defending my queen, but I'm attacking his queen. Right? And look. If he takes my queen, right? Yep. I take his queen with a fork on here. Okay. I can also take the rook with check. So his rook would have to move if he takes my queen. But more than that, if he takes my knight to remove the attacker, that's actually checkmate. I take the rook with checkmate. And he resigns at this point. Now, I'm not sure he should have resigned. So let's quickly look at the review, because I'm thinking takes is probably all right, although he is already down a piece. So, it's understandable. We'll look at the game review quickly on this one. Then we'll move on to game 2 and 3, because they're fun as well. But this is a really, really fascinating one. Okay, it says he's dead lost at this point. And it says knight d4 is a great move. There was only one good move and you found it. Get in. The boy is back. Okay? And won by resignation. Now, so the analysis at this point is -8. It's -9, right? The only move here is rook takes. Then surely knight takes b3. Yeah? And it's dead lost. Right? He has to move his rook. Rook b1. Knight takes c1. He's got no bishops left. I'm attacking that. Rook takes c1. Yeah, he's just down a whole piece, really. And he's got an isolated pawn. And I've got a nice little sniper's nest in my bishop. It's not going to go well. Yeah, absolutely. Get in, Hunty. Good man. Right, next up. The revenge match. The grudge match. But now, yours truly has the white pieces. And we have e4, e6. Ha-ha, we have the French. Okay, d4, d5, as expected. And now I'm playing this line. There's like a gambit here. But if black decides to take on e4, then you can play f3, takes again, and knight takes, right? And this is kind of familiar territory for me. Getting rid of Freddie, right? Getting the lead in development. It's kind of Vienna-ish, right? So I'm trying to transpose into like a Vienna gambit kind of line. But he doesn't fall for it. He just puts his bishop on e7, and I decide to push forward here. Take this square away from the knight, right? So where's the knight going to go? It can't go there. It's only got one square, and it's a stupid square. And if I wish, I could just eliminate the knight and totally bugger his pawns, right? So we have c5, and now he's targeting my central pawn with a wing pawn. So I defend with a knight. He brings out a knight. I put my bishop on e2. Bishop, castles. Now queen to here. Okay. So, he's attacking that once, twice, and then 3 times with the queen behind. Right, I have 2 defenders. So I now play knight a4, which is kind of multi-purpose. I hit the queen. I also defend b2. This is a move to remember. Yeah, whenever you've got like a queen on b6, and knight can quite often go to that square and defend this pawn and hit the queen at the same time. Now he moves down, now attacking my knight. So, again, what can you do, right? So, I come up with a few ideas, but my preferred idea is going to be c3, right? c3. I construct my pawn chain, and I create a discovered defense of the knight by my queen, right? And I think that's okay. So now he sacks his knight. But it's not really a sacrifice, because can you see why, right? So I just did a discovered defense with this move. This is actually a discovered attack by the bishop, and now he has queen and bishop looking at my knight. So I grab his knight off. He captures with the queen, and now b3, right? It means that the bishop's controlling this square, the pawn's controlling this square, this bishop's controlling this square, and that one, right? So queenie is slightly running out of options. Queen retreats here, I hit her again, queen retreats again, I capture with a pawn, opening up the middle. Look where this guy is, you know, still hanging around, hasn't castled yet, needs to get a move on. All right, the pawn's not going to survive, and here I make a very silly move, right? I lose my nerve because I've got a battery now looking down at the f2 pawn and decide to sidestep with my king, which is just dumb because the king was the second defender of that pawn and now it's defended only by a rook, so I lose the pawn. Okay. So anyway, I've got my my wish of eliminating Freddy, and now a4, just pressing up the board. I'm not sure if it's the best idea. I mean, what I really should be doing is maybe targeting this pawn, targeting or opening up the center of the board because the king is not there. He pushes a5. Now I bring my bishop in, pinning this bishop. Now obviously he can take and then take, right? And then queen could take, okay? But somehow I kind of like that idea, right? So, oh, but yes, of course, the queen can't take, can she? Indeed. It's another mistake by my opponent, right? Trade. Oh, free pawn. Oh no. Right? The queen was the defender of the bishop. The bishop falls. Now he's down a piece, but he's actually up 3 pawns. Okay? So materially, numerically, we're equal, but I'm liking my position so far. So now he's got a route out for his knight. So now he's thinking of castling. Okay? So hit the queen. Also defends this pawn here at the same time, which is nice, and it puts my knight in the center, and also creates a diagonal for my queen. Queen retreats, queen g4. Now I'm looking at this. What are you going to do? Are you going to castle out of trouble? Yeah? So I've got a rook lined up, I've got a queen lined up. He doesn't castle, he plays g6. Now my bishop comes in. This is a longer game, this one, for a blitz game. Okay, bishop comes in. Now he can't castle because he would have to go through check. And I'm also threatening this at some point. Right? Knight comes out with a threat. Let's trade. Right? Now, whichever pawn he took with, it's weakening, right? And now his king's stuck in the middle. Yeah, I've got this isolated pawn and my queen is under attack, right? I decide to slide the queen upwards to g5. So I really want to get into his position now and start, you know, these very close range punches. Queen comes across, queen e3 now, defending this pawn, and I've always got ideas of moving this rook and maybe even coming to here, right? Controlling these squares around the king. I really want to suffocate this king, okay? Black moves his rook up, I move my rook across to d5, I'm attacking an undefended pawn. Queen moves up to defend, queen d3, and this rook can't defend this pawn. And this rook can't defend this pawn because the only square here is controlled by the queen. Okay? So rook comes across now looking at my b3 pawn. And now I throw in bishop g7, hit the rook. It's only one square, comes to there. Bishop f6 now. And now I'm controlling these squares around the king. The king cannot now castle. Okay? His rook comes across again. But I have a barrage now on this pawn. Okay? However, I come up with a different move. Okay, what would you play here? So yes, I could grab the pawn, but is it necessary? I don't know. It could have been all right. But I played queen b5, now pinning this rook against the king, right, and attacking the pawn here. Okay, and really taking advantage of this. You know, as Benny Watts would say, that right there is a bone in the throat. You know, it's really sticking in his gullet, that bishop there. He pushes forward, double up my rooks on the d-file. I'm coming after this pawn. Again, he can't defend with either of his rooks. His king can't get there in time. The pawn must fall. King moves, rook takes d5 check, check again. So this is an interesting ending actually. From here is a forcing sequence, right? So the king here only has two squares. Comes to here. Next move, queen a6 check, right? Keep checking the bugger. He has to go to there. Queen a7. He only has one square. Back here. Checkmate. 2-0 to yours truly. Game number 3. And again we have the black pieces. And again we have the Scandinavian. He takes modern. And again he plays this. Hooray! E6. Right? Takes. Bishop takes. We've been here before. Knight comes out. Right? Now in this case I decide to develop my bishop. His bishop goes there. And instead of the queen e7, because he's seen that already, develop my knight, and in return for my pawn, I have a noticeable development lead. Right, this is move 6, and I'm almost ready to complete development. Okay, he pushes h3. He likes his quiet prophylactic moves, doesn't he? And I decide here to push my queen to d7, with ideas of if he castles this way. I could even sack the bishop for 2 pawns, and then queen takes, really peeling open his king. Okay, so he develops a knight, I castle long. Again, getting my rook onto the semi-open d-file, which I love to do. He pushes a pawn. Yeah, there could be ideas of a bishop sack at some point there, but it's defended. I centralise my other rook. Why not? The cherry on the cake. This is move 9. I have completed development in perfect time. Okay, with this move, castling, this is move 8. That is the quickest you can complete development. I've moved 2 pawns. I happen to have lost both pawns, right? But all my stuff is now out in the board. Okay, so centralise the rook. He plays bishop d2, and now I decide to come in with my knight. Right? At this point, it's like you transition from the opening, which is now complete because I've completed development. My opponent has not. Right? He's still 2 moves off because he's got to move his queen and he's got to castle to connect his rooks. Okay, and the reason is because he's captured pawns. He's moved this one. He's moved this one. He's moved this one. So he is a couple of moves behind, and he should be in front by this point. So now it's time to come up with a plan. Right? So I have a look around the board. I've got ideas. I could start a pawn storm up this side, right? Assuming that he's going to castle there. But then if I start my pawn storm now, maybe he'll trick me and go the other way, you know? So I settle on this because I figure if knight takes and bishop takes, I'm getting some nice kind of bishop kind of sights down towards that corner of the board. He decides not to do that. He comes in and attacks my queen. Note he's also forking the pawn on f7. So there's really not too many moves available. Queen e7. Now he pushes f4. And I thought, what? You just don't. You don't move Freddy, right? The c-pawn's already moved. This is not looking very solid for the king. And are you really going to put your king there? In line with a bishop? With only my own piece, you know, in the way? Seriously. So, I pivot my knight back. I'm now thinking, okay, if take the knight, trade off the pawn, and he's nowhere, right? There, bishop takes, and now I've got 3 attackers on this, right? Note, he does actually have 3 defenders as well, right? As long as he keeps, he doesn't do what I did and move the king away. Now he pushes a3. Why? Don't think that really addresses his problems. Okay. And now, what would you play? What would you play in this situation? Okay. I notice that since Freddy blinked and made a false start, right? This diagonal is unblockable right now. So queen h4 check. Queen h4 check. King f1, right? See, he still has 3 defenders on here, okay? But now, knight to b3, and I'm attacking his rook, but white actually resigns here, because he realises He's going to lose his rook. His king's out in the open. But the real reason for moving my knight here was not really to win the rook. It's to clear my bishop's site of f2 with a checkmate threat. Okay, so he has to avoid checkmate. But what can he do? I think bishop e3 is his only option right now. So bishop e3, then I take it, and he's still got a checkmate threat, right? Queen here, sorry, g2 to g3, queen takes, it's still on, right? He's got nothing. So I think, quick review of this one, and I think again we'll see that he's there's literally no way out of that as well. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm hoping there's life in the old dog. Okay, he's made 2 blunders there. Let's go to the end of the game. Down arrow. Knight b3 is good, threatens mate. Okay, and win by resignation. Analysis here. Knight c2 is best. So knight b3 is minus 8.94. Knight c2 is even better. Okay. Oh. Right. And the reason is because black has this. That's the move. Right? It's still not fantastic. Okay? Because I take this pawn with check. Right? But he's defending that square. Right? Bishop here wasn't playable because it was undefended. Right? And that's why, from this position, knight there was even better because I'm still hitting the rook. And if bishop goes here, right, I can just eliminate it with the knight, yeah? Ah, in fact, the computer's saying queen takes f4. Yeah, queen takes f4. And then what's he got? Bishop f3. Wow, yeah. But one way or another, it's going to end in tears. Now I've got rook takes there as well if I want to. It's all winning. Everything's winning. And the computer's saying knight e3 now with check. And it's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. But it goes to show, you know, you've got to keep your eyes open for these threats and learning to read the board more. You know, sometimes it's time to attack. Sometimes it's time to defend. Sometimes it's time to simplify or solidify or whatever. But what a fascinating journey, boys and girls. So thanks for watching these. I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm about to do my daily rapid game. Come on, let's finish it. Right, let's end the rot. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.